And so, if anybody does want any post-it notes, please do let me know. Because apparently, I've got fucking 8,000 of them in one. So, that's something. Hello, welcome to the show. It's a really, really, really good show. It rhymes with show, and show rhymes with show. And show it also rhymes with ho, you ho. Your mum's a hoe. But this episode brought to you by Post-it notes because I've got a gajillion of them. I saw it in I was looking for Post-it notes and I saw this and I thought, wow, 800,012,012 Post-it notes. I thought it was a bit of an odd number, technically an even number, it ends in a 2. But regardless, big fat penises all over my face. Hey, did you know I'm a graffiti artist? I'm a streetwise street artist, graffiti, gang signs, graffiti artist, like Banksy. I'm like Banksy. I paint the walls, because I'm a graffiti artist like Banksy, and this is some graffiti, just like Banksy. More like Wanksy. Get it? It rhymes. Show rhymes with show, and Banksy rhymes with fucking sellout cunt. Fuck you. Oh, all this graffiti's so ugly. Let's paint over it all. Oh, but not Banksy. Preserve his work because he's so funny and politically edgy. Oh, policeman kissing. Oh, it's so. Oh, quite literally tongue in cheek, innit, eh? Got their tongues in each other's cheeks. Bunch of bummers, they are. I only use bummers as a derogatory term because I'm talking about policemen who are arguably all horrible people who don't know what the fuck they're doing and they get power trips from their dumb, stupid idiot jobs being dumb, stupid idiots. Oh, but some of them are okay. Yeah, you can fuck off. Hey, oh, Banksy's cool. Do you know what else is cool? Naked, funny men eating ice cream, getting all swell-upped from all the ice cream. I don't know if it's from the ice cream, but I was invited to paint at an event of graffiti because, I'm such a hip, sick street graffiti artist. I get invited to, graffiti events. This one was called Southend City Jam in Southend-on-Sea. Seaman. South End. I'll put some seamen in your South End. I'll city jam some seamen in your South End. And it was a huge graffiti event. Hundreds, apparently, of artists taking part. And if you walk throughout the entire city, which I did take some moments to do. I didn't walk throughout the whole city, but up High Street and a couple of side roads just to check something out, check some stuff out, check out who was painting what. Just these boards put up everywhere, painted black for artists. They had assigned boards and they went and painted them. All kinds of graffiti. A lot of just straight up graffiti artists, which was really cool to see. And then a lot of muralists and street artists, character artists like me, I guess. I used to do the graffiti, the typical, letter forms and such. But it was you may even notice I've got a bit of a tan. Does that show on camera? Yeah, it does. It really, really does show on camera. I've got quite the sun tan from standing in the sun for 6 to 8 hours painting the goddamn thing. It didn't take me that long to paint because it's only one character. But even so, I was along a cool bunch of guys, the 40HK crew from London, which is a place in England, which is in the world, which is in London, which is in England, which is in your mother's cunt. Fuck you, fuck penis bunch of you. And that was the somewhere along the way, I think because it's the seaside and it was like a summer jam. I think maybe Tom or someone decided the theme of our wall, because it was 5 of us all painting together on this one long wall, should be ice cream themed, which makes sense. So I tried to do ice cream guy. He's eating ice cream. He's got a cherry on his. I left the cherry off the actual painting. I think because it was too high up and I didn't want to stand on a thing and put the effort in to actually finish the thing. Because I just don't care anymore. Ecto. Graffiti writer who in part put it all together, I was going to say something. Oh yeah, he asked me. He invited me to the thing, and he asked me very specifically to keep it family friendly because you're in public spaces, people walking around all over the place. So I had to keep it family. He said no nudity, no violence or anything because he knows my work. He's a fan, of course. He's a fan. I go up to him, I say, hey, is that Hector? And he's like, yeah, Ewan, oh my God, he's so great to meet you. I'm such a huge fan. I've loved your work for so many years, and everything you do is so inspiring. I love your drawings, your paintings, your nude stuff's great. Your funny stuff is edgy, it's tongue-in-cheek. You're such a huge inspiration, Ewan. I'm so incredibly grateful to have you as part of this event. It would not be the same without you. I'm so glad you could come down and paint today. Thank you, Ewan, for coming down to paint today. He didn't actually say any of that. He just said, oh, it's cool to meet you. I really love your stuff, which is nice of him. But he said keep it family friendly, so I put underwear on him. I would have painted him with his dinky out, his little wee. You could see this little drippy part over here of his big arm. I'll put up the picture. How many minutes in are we? I need to know. About 6 minutes. I'll remember that. If you haven't seen it on Instagram, it looked like this. Which I wasn't unhappy with it, but I wasn't as happy as I could be because it never comes out quite like the drawing. I made the hand extra big to fill the space. We had a lot more space than we expected to have. But I paint so infrequently these days, sadly, with spray paints anyway, that every time I do paint with spray paints, it's like starting again, and I'm so unsure of like the feel of the cans and like how much pressure to put on the cap, and my lines don't come out right. Because there was a time where it was like almost second nature. It felt like drawing. It was so natural for using a spray can. I could do all these wicked wizardry tricks with spray paints and get whatever sort of effect I desired from the cans. But I've sort of not abandoned it, but left it by the wayside in favour of drawing and painting. I've got to pay my bills, so I've got to spend all my time doing commissions and shit. I'm thinking, though, of getting just like, there's plenty of building sites around, just go and rob a big bit of wood from one, just a big, flat sheet of wood, stick it in the garden that my building has that I've not stepped foot in the 5 years I've lived here. More than 5 years. And then, just every couple of days, go out and paint something new on it. Take a picture, record it. It'd be good for the Instagram, wouldn't it? And literally just sort of get used to painting with a spray can again. Because it's pretty fun. This was another drawing, which I kind of wish I'd painted something more like this, because I feel like the actual piece of this was a bit static. I didn't even get like the lean I was going for. But again, it's practice and it's whatever. Eyes green. I have a whole thing with like... I'm not even... No, with saying words in like a soft, lazy way. So ice cream, you take out the harsh s and kr and just laserify it. So it becomes eyes green. And saying loads of words like das, oh, you, do, lazy, instead of dogging, probably. Take out the harshness, so like properly becomes basically brobbly. That's why I was like, oh, here's the thing I was going to say. Oh, then no, actually I won't go into it because it's boring as fuck. Then I went into it and it was boring as fuck. Look, she's hot, she's got big tits. That's an ex-girlfriend of mine. Shh, don't tell anyone I'm sharing my ex-girlfriend's nudes on camera. This is a newish sketchbook. I'm not really using it right now, but a couple of bits in there just for the sake of it. Also, I've got Lobster Robins stickers on the front and back, indented into the can. So back in the day, it was tradition to like as a graffiti writer, you call yourself a writer, and people call you in the scene they call graffiti artists or painters writers. You're a writer because you're writing graffiti. It's a name, it's a word. Traditionally, you are writing graffiti. You're not drawing graffiti, you're not painting graffiti, you are writing graffiti. So you are a writer. So it was a tradition for any writer sort of up and coming, getting into the scene. Whenever you meet a new writer, you get them to tag your black book. Your black book usually being a black covered sketchbook. I flinged a pen away. your basically your graffiti sketchbook that you keep in all your outlines, sketches, just pages and pages and pages of repeated tags to get used to doing them. Because you've got to be able to do a tag in 2 seconds, if that. You've got to be able to go up to a wall with a spray can and just go pss, 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 line, little quote marks on the end, a halo, maybe a couple of dots in the letters, and then walk away, run away, nice and quick. Or do 10 in a row, cover a whole wall in tags. So you've got to be able to do them that quick, so you've got to do them again and again and again and again and again and again and again to get the muscle memory. So as soon as you go to a wall with a spray can in your hand, it is like second nature to just go put a tag out. So you practice them again and again and again and again. And I've had pages, see, because I use printer paper, and I cannot count the amount of like reams and reams of printer paper I've burned through with just practicing tags with a wedge tip marker pen, similar to this Posca. But we didn't have Poscas back in the day. We had whatever we could lift from stores, and school at the time, you know, anytime a teacher had like a board marker out, you just fucking swipe it, and tags and tags and tags. But yeah, it was tradition to meet other writers and get them to tag your books. You could say like, look, I've met this writer here, here and here. And I really don't typically do that. I've done it a few times over the years. I've got a few tags here and there in separate notebooks. But I figured I'm going to this event. There's going to be quite a few people there. It would be cool to collect some tags. So that's what I did. I had some red Copic markers with me. Specifically for this. So this is Techno. He's a Swedish guy, very tall, handsome Swedish guy. Really, really like in great shape, and he's a DJ, and he's like successful and really, really good at painting graffiti. So that's cool for him, I guess. So that's him, Techno, TCNOE, Techno from Sweden, but he lives in London. He's cool. He's a cool guy. We've hung out with him. I and Tom have hung out with him quite before. A couple of times, once before. And we drove there with it. It doesn't matter at all. Jasic, he's one of the guys from 40HK crew that I was painting with. He's very, very sound. Agony, my boy. 40HK. You know Agony. If you know Agony, you know Agony. If you don't, you don't. Then is when we started like meeting new people. So this is, I don't have loads. I just met a few people. I was like, hey, you're really cool. Put a tag in my fucking Fresco from Canada. I think he's like of Puerto Rican descent, but he lives in Canada. His style is very like LA, like late 90s, early 2000s LA kind of style. Really, really fucking good. And he was showing me how he does these wood cutouts in the style of his like wild style pieces, like symmetrical bits of wood like sawn and put together and stuff. Gorgeous fucking stuff. I don't know all of their Instagrams right now. I do plan on going through and looking at them, but so I would say look him up on Fresco Graffiti. You might find him. I don't know. Poa, another 40HK boy, guy, man. He's older than me, I think. Kids and shit. He's sound. I've met him a whole bunch of times, and kind of painted with him. We were quite separated in terms of where we were at the wall, so I wasn't really painting. Didn't feel like I was painting with him, but I was painting with him, so that was good. Yeah, Poa's a good guy. Ecto, EKTO. The guy, one of the organisers of the event, I've liked his work for years. His style is really, really cool. He's got a really like sharp, wild style. Very, very cool. Pens, I believe it's Pens, PENZ or PENS. PENIS, and Pens was his name. Irish guy from Dublin. He accosted me. I was just walking down the pier. I was going to get a drink, and he goes, "You're right there, lad. Hey, how you doing there, lad? You're right there. Ah, horsey. That's probably racist. But yeah, he stopped me. He's like, "How you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, safe, man. What's up?" That's what we say. We say safe a lot because we're writers from England. We go, "Oh, safe, man. Safe, bro. What's up? What's going on, man?" We had a little chat, and I was like, "Hey, yeah, do you want to catch a tag in my black book?" And he was like, "Yeah, man. Yeah, of course I will. Oh, you have me pot of gold." But he was worried he like fucked it up first, so he did it again, and then he was like, "Oh, I fucked it up again." And I was like, "No, man, it's the tag. It's all good. It's literally just, it's fine." He was really, really sound. Elno, Laws, they're two lasses. She is dating Core. I believe they're all from Spain. I met her for the first time the other day. I met those two a couple of times before. They're really, really like all of them are tiny. Like Core, Laws, and I think Elno, I guess. I was about to say her real name, but yeah, they're all the tiniest tiniest people, but they're all just really fucking cool, just like such nice, cool people. First time I met them, they came up to me and just hugged me really tightly, and I'd never seen them before in my life, and they were like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was like, "Leave me the fuck alone, I'll squash you, you fucking midgets, fuck you." This one I'll come back to. This is Amok, one of the other guys we were painting with from 40HK. He had to outdo everyone, of course, a tag and a throw up with a character. Sick, really, really cool to have him in my book. And he's someone I've heard about for a while, so it was really cool to meet him. But in this one, this is kind of the big get for me, personally. So this is Odyssey. He did 2 tags. This is a cool, like, Japanese style one with the down and thing. And then Odyssey, ODSE. There's an I in there somewhere, I'm sure. He's someone who his work, I discovered his work in like mid 2000s, like 2005, 2006, maybe even earlier actually, 2003, early 2000s. Huge fan of his work right away because he's got a really cool, like, really slick like comic book cartoon style. He's just a really solid like drawer, like illustrator. He's so just good at drawings. His graffiti is great because of that. But I always just loved like his art, and he's a really good painter. He paints in some really cool styles and stuff. Like he paints in these skulls. Like he does a loose painting of a skull, but then covers it. He puts it on the ground, and he holds a spoon like this and sprays into the spoon. So the paint just drips onto the canvas off of the spoon, and he does that with loads of different colours and uses these drips that fall onto the canvas and like splat a little bit as dots to make up the painting in like different colours and stuff, and then like tips it up and has drips coming. Really, really cool paintings, as well as, you know, illustrations. He does a lot of tattooing these days. So yeah, been a huge fan of his work, and fairly recently, in the last couple of years or so, he started following me on Instagram, which is always, you know, maybe it's a bit silly, like, oh well, but when someone you've admired for years and years follows you on Instagram, they obviously like your work at least somewhat. It's a pretty, you know, it's a big deal. It's a noticeable thing. I get a screenshot of the little Odyssey has followed you, and it's like, oh fuck, man, that's fucking cool. And then more recently bought at least one of my books. We've had a little back and forth texting and stuff, well, messaging on Instagram, whatever. Not like, oh Teehee, it's 9 p.m, what are you doing now, are you busy, do you want to talk? But yeah, really cool guy, and I was like, you know, we should hang out sometime, get a beer or whatever. I'm not that I drink beer, but, you know, that's just what you're saying. Let's go for a coffee. I don't drink coffee, but I'll fucking go for a coffee. Fuck a coffee. And he was like, yeah, safe. You know, because that's how we talk. And I thought nothing of it, you know, because it's like just talking over text, you don't really get a rapport necessarily. So I thought, maybe I'll see him someday, maybe I won't. Then, I think like 2 nights before this graffiti event, I saw his name on the list of all the artists. So I was like, fuck, okay, cool. I'm now. Before I was like, I guess I'll go, but then I saw he was going to be there, and I was like excited to go. So I checked with the Ecto, the organizer, if he'd come in yet, and he said, he's in a bit. He's painting around this area. So later on, I walked around, found him, accosted him. I wasn't even sure it was him at first. I had to be like hang back a little bit because I couldn't quite tell because he was facing a wall painting it. And then after a while, I was like, well, I have to say something. So I was just like, well, I said his human name. I won't say it here. I said, Odyssey. And he turns around like, what? And then he realised who it was, and he was like, oh, hey. And he seemed genuinely genuinely happy to see me and like talk and stuff. And we spoke for quite a while. It was really, really cool. I got to meet someone I really, have admired for years and years and years, and got to talk to him, and he was really, really cool. And he said, stay in touch, definitely. We spoke about things that have led to other things we can talk about further. So there's room to keep talking. So he's someone I feel comfortable like staying in touch with, which is really, really cool. And again, all of this is me just I'm just sharing with you. Is that okay? I know I said that before, but it's just, this is what's been going on the past little like few days or whatever. Are we up to like 20 minutes? Yeah, I can stop here, can't I? Oh, fucking whatever. I won't. I'll keep going. But yeah, that was so that this page, it doesn't look like much, but that's quite a big one for me. It's a personal little like just a little, a little goal achieved. Just this page is pretty meaningful. So I'm happy for that. Isn't that nice? Hey, have you seen this sketchbook? It's almost finished. I was just, because we're doing the whole graffiti thing. I thought I'd just draw some graffiti because I do some letter forms, man. Yeah, wow, bad do. I think I'm going to do an E1 piece that looks like an M, E1 E1. I don't know what to do with the, because you can do a lot with like the end of an E. You can. It's not necessarily true that you will, but see, and this is how quickly you fill up pages of tags, just practicing even just single letters. I'm just writing my name now, aren't I? Oh, I've got to be careful because there's Ewok. He's another big name graffiti writer who follows me and we talk now and again, So I've got to be careful not to make my tag just basically copy his, but with an N instead of a K. So yeah, I want E1. See, because it's like E1, 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 U1. You get it. E. And I do prefer the... I'll keep doing a double. I'm used to doing like, this is basically my tag these days. It's just my signature, my artist signature. Which is kind of like a tag in itself. And a one-line one as well, which is always cool. Because you can do them quicker. You run up to a wall, just a quick... Star. Spliff. Spliffs are really cool. Everyone loves a spliff. So I keep doing a W accidentally, even though for this I mean to not do that. And there's a variety of like different ways of doing large scale E's. E. Oh, that's an ugly N. That's a bit of a better N. 1. That's quite cool. Maybe I could do that because some people do that. Do. They'll start the tag like in the center and then add on to it. So I could do 1 and then E. I'll make that spirally. No, I don't like that shape. That's kind of cool. This is tag generation, generating of tags on the fly. But I was just thinking of it could be fun to do a little piece, a little E1 piece. I don't quite know how I want to approach. I want it for now, for the sake of whatever, I feel like doing it in a fairly typical graffiti look. I don't want to be too like, I don't want to worry about being really original, as some people care about. I just want to like draw a fun little graffiti piece, But I've not left enough room for the E. E1. I don't know about this E. I don't know what I was doing, but I kind of like it. It's not terrible. I don't know if it looks like an E. Oh, it almost looks like... Because you can do capital E's, like... Some people... There's certain letters. I think W and E, they're all quite similar letters, and M's. Some people go really crazy with them, and you can, because there's so many bits to them, in a way. So, like, this one, for instance, could be, like... this, and that's that's kind of a cool like, capital E, and you can see that's like that could also be a W or an M. But M's are a good one because you can do stuff like this. Like that's an M. But then you can add all these bits and make them like symmetrical and like blast out in the center of your pieces. You could have like an O here, an arrow instead of the hole, and then a G here. Oh, and you could like mirror that with a G somehow, I don't know. I have the G going backwards, and then it says OMG, like oh my god, and then you stick some bits here, and then a big penis. This is another old sketchbook. Yeah, I just, I looked at, what the fuck is this? It's more like Kim Jong-gi shit, where I was like, yeah, I can draw in Tipex and draw some like faces and a pig. Oh, it's a goblin wearing a pig suit, okay. But it's all shit and garbage. And that's graffiti. I think that means something, or is saying something. I think it's lyrics to a song. Let me see if I can figure out. I can find some words for the same thing. What is birth use for same stays use for? I'm not sure. It might be. Oh, it's release. Inner breathlessness, outer restlessness. By the time I caught by the time I caught up to freedom. Inner breathlessness, outer restlessness. By the time I caught up to freedom, I was out of breath. Grandma asked me what I'm running for. I guess I'm out for the same thing. The sun is sunning for what mothers birth their youngins for. The same thing. The sun is sunning for what mothers birth their youngins for. And something else. Yes, song by Blackalicious. Blackalicious, the now defunct due to Mr. Gift of Gab's passing. It's very, very sad. Am I recording? I am. Yeah, Jesus. Right. So the last time I showed an old sketchbook, it was like a pivotal point of like figuring stuff out. It was early days of Instagram and sort of like getting into. I'm wheezing because I'm taking too much caffeine and I'm a massive cock. And this is pivotal for a couple of reasons, which you may see right here. So this is Batman. This is when the first Ben Affleck Batman came out, and there was a scene in the trailer where he was in like a duster jacket with like a scarf and goggles and stuff out in the desert, and I saw that in the trailer, and I was like, oh fuck, that looks so cool! I can't wait to see that film. And then you see the film, and it's one dream sequence, very, very brief dream sequence where he's dressed like this, and that was incredibly disappointing. But that was, Batman in the duster jacket with like scarf and shit. That was cool. And also black ballpoint. But then you see a little bit of blue and purple. See, because this is around the time I first ever got one of these pens with the 4 colours. So there's lots and lots of experimentation with that pen in this book, because I first got one and I was like, oh shit, look at all the colours. Soul Gem from Skyrim, bunch of skulls and shit. These are just felt tip pens of like pop culture characters. I think I did a thing fairly early in Instagram where I was like, everyone say pop culture characters and I'll draw all of their heads in pen. And I tried doing them all straight into ink, not practicing or anything, just draw them. And I did a big sheet of paper with all these little heads on it. So you can, Tank Girl, Daredevil, Joker, Hellboy, Goblin, Mario, Big G. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I've lost my imagination, where like I do some things where I'm like, that's a really fucking cool little drawy thing. Why don't I do stuff like that nowadays? I don't know what it is. Some big guy with a big mouth in his back and the floating eyeball, which is a motif I probably copied from somewhere and carried over. And this was, I think it was a photo. I don't know if it was a photo I was sent or if it was a photo I found, but all the lumpy back muscles. Really liked that. So I drew it. Obviously, that's the whole fucking point. This fucking little alligator guy's pretty funny, isn't he? Little legs and an alligator head. What's going on there? I don't even fucking know. I was working in a shoe store at the time. This was during the days of the day job, which I, really, really enjoyed. I drew dinosaurs with shoes for heads. There's a Shoeosaurus Rex. I don't know. Cyclops Pikachu is quite cool. A penis. Never enough of those. A goblin in a Ghostbuster outfit, which is really cool. I like that drawing. I like the stance where it's like not just on a flat plane, but it's like whoosh. Someone suggested, they said, oh, Ewan, I'd love to see one of your goblins dressed like a Ghostbuster. And I was like, do you know what? All right. And I drew it. That was quite cool. That's one of those things that's like, wow, I could, like if I painted that, a goblin as a Ghostbuster with like, you know, cool lighting effects coming off of the blaster, whatever that's called. Maybe a couple of ghosts in the back. I don't know. One of the traps behind him or something. That could be quite cool. There's a Shoeceratops. Shoeceratops. Yeah, that works, doesn't it? Triceratops. Shoe for a head, laces for horns. See, and the Haunter and Gengar. That's really cool. I like that one. That's sort of. Yeah. Oh, and with one eye. I think Pokemon look really cool with one eye. I think I realised that because I did that black and white zine of Pokemon fusions, and I realised some of the coolest ones were anytime a Pokemon was fusioned with Magnemite, because Magnemite has the one eye, and then it gives the Pokemon one eye, and it looks really, really cool. So yeah, that's really fucking cool. Ratbro. This is a classic drawing. I think that appears, if I've got any copies of it anywhere. Does that appear in my ballpoint book? Oh, it might appear in my first ballpoint book, actually. Yeah, I don't think it's in this book. I think it might be in the original edition with the monkey face on the front. Oh, yeah, there's a couple of Ratbros in here. That I just went past and got one. I guess this was in the... Do I have a copy of the first one? Oh my god, no, I don't. I don't know if I've literally got any copies of that. I think I gave away or sold the last ones. But that's cool, I was really happy with that. All the colours, and this is when I was like actually experimenting with putting green in where normally I wouldn't. I think these days I wouldn't use the green. Maybe for the leaf, because, you know, spliff, like I said, you've got to put a spliff in there. That makes it cool. It makes it street. Yeah, wow. I'd just go purple and pink and then blue for like the jacket and parts. But throwing the green in, there's a lot of that in here, in there, in there. I tend to use the green only if it's really applicable to what I'm drawing, if that makes sense. It's a lady sending me pictures and me drawing them. Very slim lady, and a lot of people say, you know, bigger women are more fun to draw because of the curves and lines and creases and stuff, which is very, very true sometimes. But at the same time, slim bodies, all bodies are fun to draw. So that's something. Giraffe skulls are pretty fucking gnarly. Do some giraffe heads and skulls. Look, this is a car with a giraffe driving it, and his head's coming all the way out the roof because it's too big. He can't fit in a car. How fucking silliness. Another Cyclops Pikachu. Quite like that Cyclops Pikachu. I think it's pretty cool drawing. Headless Horseman. Something. Another drawing for a photo of a girl. I don't know. And that's the same. Look, he's there driving his car now. He's in a traffic jam and he's not happy about it, is he? Ugh. See all these cars around and vans. There were so many of these stickers because every pair of vans has one of these stickers with a little tag attached to the shoe. And so these stickers just get pulled off and thrown to the side, littering the floor of the shoe shop, which is, you know, fucking whatever. And it's like Squirtle, but like he's a mercenary. He's got like combat gear and guns and pouches and shit. This guy, what's his name? Jason Voorhees. I know it's Michael Myers. I was making a joke. It's a whole bunch of shit. Cube face, jaw man, Cubone. Cubone on all fours, I think, is quite cool because he's obviously some kind of lizard, and I feel like he should be on all fours. And I think Cubone looks pretty cool on all fours. Personally, I think it looks kind of cool. Look, it's an arcade machine, but it's alive. It's like a creature. The green really works in that. The green, blue, purple, pink combination all used together really, really works on that one. I like that. Quite like the shapes of that in general. It's pretty gnarly, isn't it? Pretty fucking cool. More. See, this is... I think this is the start of when I started getting loads of fucking nudes and things sent to me. So there's quite a few in here. Maggots in the skull's eyes, and there's a bikini selfie there. We love a bikini. Love a strapless bikini as well. Really nice. It's the lines. You get body, line, body, line, body. It's a really nice sort of division of... Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's part of the appeal of like lingerie. Is it separates the body into like thirds, and it's the rule of thirds which makes pictures visually interesting. Maybe there's something to that. I've never actually thought about that before. I've always wondered specifically what is it that makes like lingerie, stockings and things so attractive, and that may be a part of it. Look, getting your eyeball pierced, imagine that, getting like a bar through your eyeball. Oh, that'd be something, wouldn't it? That's the same slim lady from before, this one. But sort of like exaggerated a bit. That's a girl. With glasses. What a fucking nerd. No, she's lovely actually. Well, I think. She's Russian. Russians are difficult these days. It's a tricky one. Like a naked guy with an eyeball for a head, floaty eyeball head, and he's in a bed of skulls. Oh, that's cool. I think I may have a couple of like prints of that somewhere. I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look around. Look, the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk Hogan. Okay, it's like Hulk Hogan, but he's like the Incredible, like he's burst out of his clothes like the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk. Really like this drawing. That made it into the ballpoint book as well, I think. I'm sort of almost apologetic that I don't have a copy around. I feel like I should have a copy somewhere, but I just don't. Just some stuff. 3-titted alien lady with a gun. Hulk head. That's kind of cool. Like the guy's head, and then almost inserted on top, like, or inside, a drawing of his skull as a separate. The giraffe skull. That's quite a cool drawing. Cats with 3 eyes. I don't know. Willy shirt. This is my Willy shirt. This is a t-shirt that shows off your Willy. Your Willy shirt. That's. Oh, there's a pigeon wearing armour. That's kind of cool. I drew a pigeon wearing trousers recently. Somewhat recently. This year, I think. And now it's a pigeon wearing armour. That's something. This is another picture sent to me, but I made the arse a goblin face. It's funny. Vaguely humorous. I think I got a packet of like cheap, like, 30 or 40 felt tip pens for £3 or something. And I was just playing around with them. A weird Squirtle, some chick with a black eye. Fun. No, Windows, I don't want to install Windows 11. Leave me alone. Get fucked. Get fucked! A fucking piece of shit. Oh no, did I click OK? Oh shit. God, fucking. Oh, my computer's doing shit right next to me. And this would be when I got 20k followers. The first time. I have since gotten past that that place again, so that's something. No, I for every, I think, 5 or 10,000 followers, I did like a drawing to say thank you, which I sort of kind of do sometimes now, but not so much, because I feel resentful that I have to do them again because I already did. But this is when I got 20,000 ladies intestines. He's just chilling. He's happy because he's realised he just got 20,000 followers, and then he's like him here, and he's. I like drawing intestines. Okay, right. Let's finish. No, let's not update. Remind me later. It doesn't give you an option to just fuck off and leave me alone. So I guess at least I can get it to remind me later. Oh, there's some SSBBW porn on my laptop. That's fun. That's incredibly large women. Super-sized, big, beautiful women. People with guns. A worm. I think this is supposed to be the guy from Hotline Miami. With the jacket and the chicken head and a baseball bat. Beating the fuck out of people. Funny monkey heads. Some chick with heels. That's cool. I like heels. I like girls with heels. I like heels with girls. Look, his penis is like a genie. I think that's what I was going for. As like either that or his penis is a muscly man. Either way, it's quite funny. Isn't it? I feel like I was a lot looser back then. Now I'm too tight and like anatomy and rigid structure. Whereas then this feels like a lot looser and more fun almost than current day drawings. Slain, I think that's supposed to be. Some green bitch. Monkey heads. We all love some monkey heads. That's my dad. He's dead. And this is a monkey head. He's passed away, and this is drawn off of using as reference one of the only photos I have of him. Big, fat, jolly Scottish man. Jolly sometimes. And other times, he'd hit me very, very hard. On the thigh. He'd always hit me on the thigh. I always remember that, like the outside of my thigh, with his giant Scottish hand. He'd just go, BAM! And I always remember, this is when I was very, very young. Too young to really be smacking a child. But I always had thoughts in my head as it was happening of alligators. It felt like an alligator biting my leg. Not that I knew what that felt like, but it's what I imagined it would be like. The crack of his hand hitting my leg and the sting just brought to mind images of crocodiles going. Hey, there's some childhood trauma for you. That's kind of cool. Cat skull with a floating eye and the cat head around the skull. And around this time, I got a bike to cycle from my mother's new house with her husband that I was staying in for a while to the train station so I could get to work because it was a whole fucking mission. I'm dying. Saturn devouring his son. One of my favourite paintings. I want to paint that on my wall at some point. Like a big, huge version. You know, like the original was actually painted on a wall of this guy's house, Goya, when he was going insane and he covered the walls of his house in all these horrific paintings. But I want to paint that on the wall. I've got like in my room. I tossed the pen on the floor, didn't I? Fucking idiot. If my bedroom is this square, there's the door to my bedroom here, and then there's a door here going to the kitchen, and there's a window here. My desk is here, and my bed is a mattress on the floor here. Some clothes and shit here, piles of books, chair, some shit, a little table here. But I want to paint it on this wall above my bed. Saturn devouring his son with, you know, like black out the wall and then paint him in and everything. So then when you walk in here, it'll be basically one of the first things you see is just this giant fucking painting of Saturn. I'm sure my landlady will love it, and when I move out she can either paint over it and ruin a fantastic work of art, or like carve it off the wall like they did with the original. You know, like you're supposed to do. Hey, this painting exists here. Let's remove it from there and put it in a museum. Brilliant. Fucking bloody great. This is one of my dear friends. I think we were supposed to be girlfriend, boyfriend at the time, and then I think I fucked it up by not realising that and then just calling her a friend. Hey, it happens. She was dressed as Poison Ivy, and then I drew her dressed as Poison Ivy. Guys with guns, can't get enough of them. I was drawing a lot of bikes and then being depressed at work and drawing me wanting to just slam my bike into a wall, so I drew several things like that. This is the break room at work. That's some guy whose name I forget. I think that guy's name is Leon. There's some feet from someone else, and there's me sat drawing with all these really fun and interesting characters. A zombie with flowers, like a flower crown on a zombie. I thought that was quite a nice piece. I mean, that could be good if painted appropriately, like a dull grey brown tones for the zombie. Maybe not looking so ferocious, but maybe looking more docile and just like, oh. And then like a really beautifully painted flower crown in bright colours on the zombie. I think that would be really, really cool piece. Might be cool. Some shit, goblins and lizards and trolls. Oh my! And these were probably pulled out and given to people or sold, maybe. That would have been the duck that I think the Rap Bro team made, like a duck in a jumpsuit with guns, and I drew it really cool. And I think that made it into the ballpoint book also. Some like dungeon drawings, you know, those things I did back in the day. I think I got some marker pens as a gift, and so I was just sort of testing them out, seeing what I could and couldn't do with them. The Thing fighting the Hulk, bonking him on the head. Bonk. Oh, cool, we're done. Not fantastic, but, you know, I was going to say, I could do that and it would look really good. I think there's plenty of Hulk versus Thing artwork out there. I don't necessarily feel a need to contribute more, but given time, if I fancy it, there's no reason I can't do a little Hulk versus Thing painting myself. Or do them teaming up against a greater evil, like capitalism. Ugh. Which sounds like I'm joking, but at the same time, capitalism is a fuck, and we should destroy it. He's got like intestine brain head. Kind of almost nowadays that looks like something from The Last of Us, which was unintentional. I don't even know if The Last of Us was out around this time, and if it was, it's not something I had any real idea of in my brain. I just like drawing guts and brains and stuff. So fucking Neds. That was an old tag I used to use a lot. That was my legal tag. See, around this time I came up with Neds, which is non-educated delinquents, which is the Scottish term for chavs, if you know what a chav is. Just a rough little hoodlum, a fucking little council estate boy. Give me your fucking money, you prick. I'll fucking stab you, you cunt. You know, tracksuits and Air Max trainers and stuff. Little chavs, and Neds is the Scottish version of that. So I had my Scottish heritage, and I thought Neds is a really cool word. I'll use that as my tag. And I did. So I had, you know, I'd be going out around this sort of time that I came up with this, not at the time of this sketchbook, but earlier on. I was running around painting my secret naughty tag around, but then I'd do like graffiti workshops and things at the same time. So I couldn't put my naughty boy tag on these boards and things we were painting at these workshops. So I came up with Neds, which is a fun one, and it's quite a cool like tag to do. Neds. I've sort of perfected it since. Like, as far as I every now and again I'll get like, oh, I can't do letters. What's wrong with me? I've forgotten it all. But then sometimes I'll do one and I'll be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Neds. You can go capital NDS. You scribble over all your fucking shit. Some people like the wedge. I always like the wedge tip. Some people prefer like a thinner line for their tags and things, which is totally fair and reasonable. And a good writer can use both effectively. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but you get it. More of my friend as Poison Ivy. And that's your fucking lot. Oh, I might cut this paper out actually if it's not going to be used. Oh, let's do that. I mean, Eon is almost a good like graffiti tag word in itself. I could keep that, couldn't I? If I don't have space to fit in extra letters, I can just write Eon. But if I do have space, stick another E on the end there. I'll stick an E on your end. Get in. And then I've got E1. Eon, E1. I think it works. I think it works. Does it? I don't give a shit. Wait there. I can feel the caffeine wearing off. Let me take another one. Just for the last little bit. A little boosty boost. So, in graffiti, I mean, this may be obvious, and you may already know this, but I'll say it for the fucking fuck of it. Typically, you've got your tag, which looks like this. Tag. Tags, you know. Skiff. Some are really bold. Some go like, you know, there's 10 foot, if you know graffiti in London, you know 10 foot literally just writes 10 foot. But then there are people that go really like complex with their tags. So if I've got a Ned's tag, I could like, oh no, that's shit. No, that's shit too. You can just sort of add loads of bits and like make it really complicated and illegible. This was meant to take up like a fraction of a page. Then you've got throw-ups, which are like a big bold bubble letters. I'm trying to remember my Ned's throw-ups. Something like that. Neds. And then you've got a piece, which is like a more like a Ned's piece would be something like this. And a throw up like this is often known as a dub, as in it uses typically just like two colours, usually a chrome fill-in and then a black outline. And then you can go a bit further and put like a white border around it and a drop shadow and some drips and stuff. Yeah, you make it, personalise it, make it yours, you know. And then you've got a piece which uses, you know, more colours and has got a bit more style and creativity to it. This is what I'm making up on the spot, a Ned's piece. I don't remember any of mine. Just trying to remember all the shapes I used to use when I was drawing graffiti a lot. N-E-D. I think can be quite cool sometimes to basically use a number 5 for an S. So like you get 1 line, 2 lines, and then like the roundness or whatever, and then fling a bit off that way. Yeah, a piece like this, more style. You put like 3D in it and patterns and bubbles and stars and shit and characters. And then you have like wild style burners, which takes that and multiplies it by like 10, and it's all crazy all over the place. Now, throw-ups, typically you do a fill-in. Some people like really clean, crisp fill-ins for their throw-ups. So if you have, let's say, let's just go, if your throw-up is just like the word one, for instance. Some people might want. No, I was going to put a testicle on the end, but they like it to be like really. This isn't a good example, but really crisp and clean fill in, like no gaps, and have a nice big bold, throw up or whatever, dub or bomb as they're sometimes called. Although I think a bomb is more like a 1 or 2 letter thing, like a really quick, like there's a guy who writes quick, I think, who's basically got like a thing and then a K, all done almost in one line, filled in, and then an outline, that's really good, Ewan, really well done. But it's a bomb, I think, is like that. It's just like a dub, but shorter and quicker. Like a bomb, you're just setting it there and it more quickly blows up. And then you have like nice crisp, clean outlines. Like that. But some people, usually, not always, but often, like the more hardcore bombers, will have a dub be more, I don't know, just done sort of quicker and rougher. This is shit, but you get it. And the filling's done with like a fat cap, so it goes a big fat spray, and you just quickly go and you scribble your filling in like this. And those were the ones I always liked, because when it's finished and it's done and it's all on the wall, these ones almost look like stickers put onto the wall, whereas these ones look like graffiti that's been hastily painted in the dead of night or whatever. And so those were always the more interesting ones to me. And also, I found them to be more fun to do, especially if it was late at night and I was running around painting naughty graffiti. Ruin it all. So yeah, I like the quickness of there you go. So some giving you some lessons in graffiti history. Speaking of history, this is considered. Do you know what? So these are almost like ancient now. These are like a lost form of communication now. These are like ancient hieroglyphics. These are graffiti magazines. Before Instagram, before Flickr and Tumblr, before the internet as a whole as we know it today, this was how graffiti got around. I don't know, either you'd know someone who was making a magazine, you'd give them some photos. If a magazine existed already, you'd just send them hundreds of photos of your pieces and throw-ups and stuff. And if you got put in one of the magazines, that was like, you weren't necessarily big time, but more people saw you, and like, it meant something. To be shown in a graffiti magazine back in the day meant something. It was like, you were someone of note, you were worth putting in a magazine. And that was a pretty big deal. That was how people got known. Whereas then the internet comes along, like I say, Tumblr, Flickr, you can take a photo of one piece, share it online, and hundreds of thousands of people will see it in a day, rather than like 100 people in a day see it in person, maybe 50 people see it in a magazine, maybe that magazine gets sent overseas and more people see it. So I still have like a huge love of graffiti magazines and things, because it's an important part of the history of graffiti, and they exist here and there these days, but just not so much at all. Trains, you don't see those too often these days. People still paint them, but they're not documented in the same way, because magazines like this don't really exist anymore, and it's difficult to realistically have an Instagram full of illegal graffiti photos. It does happen, but do you really want to be parading your illegal activities online that is probably in some way traceable to you? It's a bit of a difficult thing. So stuff like this, it's important. It was important, and still is. Throw-ups, I could look at throw-ups all day. See, just like simple outlines, 2 colours, nice and quick. Every one of them is they're all different people, but like every one of them is different. You can see the person's style in the throw up. Some people go more complex, have a bit more style. Some people are bold and simple. Sometimes it's like crew names. Sometimes it's your own personal name. Sometimes you'll put your girlfriend's name in there and be like, look, I painted your name on a wall. We've all done it. Literally every graffiti writer has done it, except the ones that don't have girlfriends because they're fucking losers. Yeah, man, this is... love this. And graffiti magazines is literally what got me into graffiti in the first place. When my friend in maths class in like year 9 brought in an issue of Graffitism, which I'd like never seen before. It blew my fucking mind. So we'd sit there, him and I would sit there for hours and hours just copying pieces out of it. Then taking those learned skills into our own pieces on, you know, sketchbooks and notebooks. Just drawing graffiti for hours and hours and days and days and days. I drew in sketchbooks for years before I even picked up a spray can because I was so worried about like trying to paint outside and just looking like a tit because I don't know what I'm doing. And I practiced in my room with spray cans before I even went out in the streets. And this, every serious graffiti writer, artist, whatever, had this as their, like, you know, the Bible of graffiti. This was first published in 1984, 4 years before I was even born. And this was 2 photographers, Henry Chalfant and Martha Cooper, both very, very famous now in the world of graffiti documenting. And this was exactly that. It was documenting the, at the time, current explosion of subway graffiti in New York City. And all these like great photos like this in a train yard, just hopping over trains. It's so sick. But this book was so important, probably to every graffiti writer ever. And I know specifically, for some reason, somehow, my school library had a copy of this. This one is a newer copy. I did have a copy. I stole the copy from the library, and I think it got stolen by someone else. I think I lent it to a friend and then never saw it again. So this one I stole from a shop. So it doesn't have all the, you know, Henry Beaufort, which is the school I went to, school library stamps and shit in it. But yeah, I think my friend who brought in the Graffitism took me to the library and he was like, have you seen this? And he sat me down with this book and I was like, what? This is in here. This is just in here. And he was like, yeah. And then it's these 2 pages and then, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. These 2 pages were everything to me. I have the images on these pages burned into my brains. I've read the words, but the images are burned into my fucking nervous system because it's just aspects of the graffiti writer lifestyle that I think a lot of people sort of idolize, but like it just sort of speaks to you on this like almost animalistic level of just like fuck, it's just so cool. Handfuls of caps taken from, especially back in the day, because nowadays they make these caps specifically for spray paint, all different sizes and pressures and stuff. So you have a different cap for like a thin line, a different one for fat line. You get ones that do a straight line, so you get like a calligraphy sort of look to it. You get ones with like a flat horizontal line, which just enormous coverage. Whereas these would have been taken from like air fresheners and car paint and just fucking whatever aerosol cans. Take them off, put them on a spray can and see what happens. Because, you know, an air freshener might have a really wide spread to cover a large area of a room to freshen the air. Stick that on a paint can and it will spread paint out that far. Whereas something like a WD-40 needs to be more concentrated, so it would have a shorter, like thinner stream of air to shoot out. Put that on a paint can and it gets a shorter, quicker burst of paint. But yeah, just everything, like just writers hanging out together, drawing in their books, looking at photos of each other's pieces, markers, stereo on the ground, just drinking and hanging out. Warehouses and like studio spaces full of like stolen paint, because back in the day you stole your paint or you were a schmuck. Hand done tattoos, just drawing pieces, looking at other people's sketchbooks, and like this was a thing as well, Outline for Too Many piece by Dondi. So Dondi, one of like the biggest, greatest writers ever. Is he in the front? This guy. did an outline for another artist who wrote too many. So people would often do that. They'd be like, oh, I'll draw your name, you draw mine in each other's style, and then you paint it. So it's your name in someone else's style, but with your... It's cool. It was a cool scene. Keys, like, stolen and passed on to, like, open subway doors and stuff. It's like you find a key, steal a key, copy it, and then you can get into a subway and, you know, into the underground and paint trains and stuff. Just all these aspects collected in a handful of images on these 2 pages. Just this spoke to me so vividly, and you know, this is what my sketchbooks look like. Just outlines and tags and stuff. It was so real. There's Dundee, the great. One of his most famous pieces. I think every graffiti artist, probably, or most of them, have done a copy of this, where you take these letters and you do your own name in this exact style, this exact colour scheme with these characters either side. To be like, look, I did the Dundee thing. Which is, you know, it's just a bit fun. There's nothing too serious about it, but this is cool. Scheme reclining on the 3rd rail in front of his piece. The 3rd rail being the rail that electricity passes through to power the train. I believe it only passes through a certain distance before and after the train is passing. So there are times when there's no trains running where it is safer to touch the 3rd rail, but in general, best to stay away. But yeah, that's really cool. Subway train with his piece painted on it. A really nice piece, actually, as far as it goes. And he's just chilling on the 3rd rail in front of it. That's a really dope picture. Dope. I talk like that because I'm really cool and hip. Just a collection of photos of writers tagging on their jeans, on walls, pieces at night time. This is really cool as well because every writer knows that feeling of being like up against a wall or a train in the dead of night, the smell of the paint and the sound of everything, hearing fucking sirens way off in the distance, animals around you, maybe someone walking past lighting a cigarette, just the little like of the lighter in the background at night time. It's so just like so real, man. Scene's one of like the biggest names in graffiti ever. I think he's just done a lot more than most people at that time. Yes, it always has been and always will be incredibly special to me. There are times where I don't really do much graffiti in general, but it's a very important part of like my my sort of growth into becoming the me I am today. The years spent running around illegally tagging and stuff were important. Learning about graffiti and learning about the lifestyle and in various ways becoming part of like the graffiti scene, meeting people, meeting other people through people, and then to the point where I get invited after, even though I don't really paint that regularly on walls, I get invited to one of these events with hundreds of other writers. Some of them are friends, some of them I meet for the first time and hang out. It's fucking really, really cool. Shit like this is cool, this bombed out train. Yeah, man. It's like obviously everyone looks at it and goes, "Oh, bloody scribbles!" and why can't you paint good graffiti like Banksy? But this, if this didn't exist, if you can say, "Oh, that looks really ugly." Like, yeah, these pretty pieces are nice, you know. This is really cool, and these, like, it's really pretty and colourful and nice, but I hate all this shit. So many people, even people you might think would be cool, they say, "Oh, I hate all this shit, though it's ugly and messy, it makes you know, public property look shit." It's like, yeah, sure, but if this didn't exist, this wouldn't exist, and if this didn't exist, Banksy wouldn't exist. Like, everything leads on to another thing. And in the same respect, you know, like, you can badmouth bad jokes told by comedians. "Oh, that was a bad joke, that wasn't funny. You know, why can't you tell good jokes like this comedian?" Like, without the bad jokes, you don't get the good jokes. Good art doesn't come out of nowhere. Good art comes out of bad art. You have to make so much more bad art than you make good art. And it's only through that, like, trial and error and progression that you get good art. So you have to love and accept tags. I've even got a book of nothing but tags. Earsnot, he's fucking big in the game. This is a whole book of just doorways covered in graffiti, and I fucking love it. I love it so much. Even the shit tags, like that doesn't have any real particular style. It's a bit whack, but I love and respect it just for being there. I think this is so attractive to me as like texture and life, and knowing that each of these is a person that's like leaving their mark. I was here, and that's all of us, all any of us want to do is just say, you know, I was here, I did a thing, look, I produced, you know. Like I say, I could look at this shit for hours and hours. I love it so much. But this is the shit that's just like, oh, I like graffiti art, but this isn't art. This is just scribbles. It's vandalism. It's gang shit. It's horrible. It's filthy and dripping. And nah, this is gorgeous. It's like calligraphy. And everyone knows when you first, like, right, okay, this is, I'll do another mini history lesson for you. Well, not history, but just culture lesson, I guess. Every graffiti artist, when they first start, what's a name? Tank. Let's go with Tank. If you want to write Tank as your tag, at first your tags will look like this. You put an arrow here, and you go like this. The A is upside down because that's kind of cool, and you'll be like an N, but you won't really know what you're doing. So then you'll just like go like, you put it in a box, and then a K. You'll see like a K you saw on a graffiti piece, and you'll be like try to emulate that. Like Tank, yeah, that's my tag. This is my tag. It says Tank. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, no one knows it says Tank, but it says Tank, and that's just so. Like if any actual writer sees this, they know that's someone who's been doing it for 10 minutes and they don't know what they're doing. But you keep growing and learning, and then you understand there's actually like, not a science, like an art to doing a good tag. So I'm not saying I could do a brilliant Tank tag now. I've decided that's the name I'm gonna fucking write. But then, you know, you start putting more effort into like certain parts of your tags and stuff, and mirror things, put a little crown. You're not supposed to put a crown on a piece unless you are big in the game, but yeah, you just sort of you learn what to do and what not to do to make your pieces good. So this is, I made that up on the spot, Tank, coming from this. And then, you know, get the wedge marker out and you cover pages and pages in Tank tags. Oh, that's a bit Nike, isn't it? Oh, that's whack. That should be like that. Fuck! And then you drip it, and that's how it is. So without these shitty tags scribbled everywhere by 10-year-olds, you don't get the good tags, and without the good tags you don't get the throw-ups, and without the throw-ups you don't get the pieces, without the pieces you don't get the murals, without the shitty scribbles you don't get the fucking cool art that everyone likes. You know, big paintings of like pretty girls in sunglasses holding a jar full of butterflies. That all comes from this. You don't get one without the other. You don't get one without the other. I had planned to, by the end of this, have like a cool piece. Paint like an E1 piece done. Should we try to get at least something going like that? I don't know if there's any point. Is anyone still listening at this point? Jesus. I think I'm going to go with, against my better judgment, go with a capital E. And this is going to be a fairly stereotypical, not hugely original graffiti piece, but I'm just for the fuck of it all, just because why not? Why bloody not? Do you know what I mean? Why bloody not, eh? Just fucking do the shit. I don't know if I like the E. Should we stick a... Yeah, let's put some... Let's go with this theme, the top bar theme. Should we do the other E backwards? That might work. And then we get an arrow on either side. I think that's the way to do it. Yeah, I think we just about got it. It's not perfect, but I think it's alright. It'll do the job. Jobs are good, or will be, maybe eventually. No, perhaps. Well, that could be like a. And you've got to try to like balance things and mirror things. So if this line's going here and this line suddenly goes this way, it looks really whack. So if I use words like whack and dope because I'm hip hop, I'm urban. Yeah, that's what I do. Love it or leave it, yo. So you've got to try to. It's all about balance. You've got to balance your letters. Have shit mirroring other shit. E1. Oh, and because of the arrows, it looks like a One Direction kind of thing, which was unintentional. Or was it? E1. Put the O over the N. Stretch this bit out a little. And then a star, because I'm a big gay, and stars are shiny and bright like me, because I'm a big gay. And then you colour it. How are we going to colour this? There's one. No, I don't know if I can be fucked to do it. No, I think I'll just go pink. I was going to be like, well, because I like to do like blues and purples in these three letters, and then yellows, oranges, and a little bit of red in the middle one, and it really like, I don't know, it's a nice balance of a selection of colours. Can look cool. But we're going simple. We're going very, very simple, just to get like a quick piece done. Something for the thumbnail. That's what's important, isn't it? Get a thumbnail, and it's all good. And I'll put like graph, bruv. It's all graph, bruv. It's real street graph, bruv, in the thumbnail. And people will be like, oh yeah, it's like Banksy. I'm going to click on that video because Banksy does like graph, and this is about graph, and that's real cool and hip and trendy. Yeah. Cool. Wow. Bada-ba-doo. Squizzle squazzy screw goo. Of course, there did come a point where, because I lived in a very small place and it was easy to become like quote unquote famous basically overnight. If you catch like a handful of tags, people would start to notice because there's like no one else doing it. And so that's cool because you could get known in a very short space of time doing graffiti. But you can get known in a very short space of time doing graffiti. So, certain law enforcement individuals will be keeping an eye out and try to catch you out or whatever. So you had to be careful. So after a while, and partly, I kind of started getting almost a little bit bored with the name I was using at the time. So there was a period of time where I was just writing random words. Like Scud and Fluck were two good ones that I liked. Not that I painted these illegally. I'd never do something like that. Scud. Sometimes I paint them all as one long word. Sometimes I paint them as separate words. Scud and Fluck. They're not like words necessarily, but they sound cool. Oh, I think they sound cool anyway. They almost sound like swear words, but not quite sound like swear words. Just something fun to write. And I like the letters and the harshness of them. And it's, just a bit of fun. And sometimes it's more fun to just write a bunch of random words than it is to focus on one name. Especially if you sort of separate yourself from trying to be like famous for graffiti and you just want to go out and do it, which I'd argue is more important, to just be doing the thing regardless of if people know you or not. So yeah, that was what I did for a while, and that was fun. There was this abandoned spot. It was like an old abandoned army training camp or something, and there was a few little buildings, like some little bunker type buildings, some big concrete areas where I think they had like firing ranges and stuff back in the day, and it was all like long since abandoned, all overgrown with grass and weeds and stuff. But there were a few like okay walls in amongst all the bushes and stuff that were fun to paint. So I often went there because that was a chill spot. You could go in the daytime, just hang out and paint, and there'd occasionally be someone walking their dog there. And if they did see you painting, they'd almost certainly leave you alone. I went there a whole bunch of times and never had any trouble. And I think twice, I was going to say every now and again, literally maybe twice, I'd go there and see some paintings left by not huge names in graffiti, but certainly bigger names in the area I lived in, like sort of bigger name artists from the south coast or whatever. And I'd be like, oh shit, this person's just been here. Like if I might have gone one day, not the next day, and then went again the following day, and that one day in between I didn't go, this other person, this more well-known person had been there and painted a thing, and then I went and saw it the next day and was just like, oh, I was just here and now this person's been. Those were cool moments, man. That was good times. I practiced a couple of characters there, some pieces. There was a place where there was like I don't know how to describe it. It was just a wall, but it was in like sections with bushes and trees and stuff all around it. So it was like a long brick wall, or longish like this. It had these kind of like crumbling supports. This is where I think it might have been some kind of firing range or something. Maybe these were sectioned off and then it was a firing range and you shoot against targets against these walls. So there was almost like these sections here, and so it was quite a cool look. The photos were on an old hard drive and long since lost to time, sadly. But yeah, I had I think I put a Neds here and then a Scud here and a Fluck here, all in chrome and black, with trees around and stuff. So it was red brick, chrome and black throw-ups in each of these little spots, and yeah, greenery all around it. It made for a really nice looking like piece, and I enjoyed that. I thought it was really nice. Those were good times, good times. And again, any time you can get a daytime spot where you can just chill and paint and there's no one around is good times, because those places are rare, especially in places where there's not really legal walls. There's a skate park you can paint that I started my graffiti career painting at, and that's when I got noticed by the locals and they asked me to come hang out with them and paint with them, and then it all blew up from there. But even then I got arrested for painting at the skate park because the dumb cunt of a police officer that I knew from like several youth workshops I'd done, he arrested me because he didn't realise that actually you're allowed to paint there. Then after I was in a cell for over an hour, they let me out saying, oh, you're being let go with no further charges because we phoned the council and the council said you're allowed to paint there. And I was like, I know, I've been painting there for years. Police have been past many times and seen me paint there and even gone, oh, that's quite cool, I like the character, oh, it's a guy in a catsuit, wait, haven't I seen him? Yeah, so I painted there so many times, but there's this one dickhole of a police officer who wanted to like be Captain fucking Brilliant, thought he'd arrest me because I wasn't allowed to paint there. Couldn't like phone the council before arresting me. Had to phone him afterwards and then be like, oh sorry, you are actually allowed to paint here. I fucking know I'm allowed to paint here, you cunt. Worthless individuals. The police, eh? Oh, they're a fun bunch. Oh, not all of them are bad. Some of them are just nice people trying to make a difference in the world. Yeah, Warren. If you fucking say so, son. Sunshine. If you say so, sunshine, you can. You fuck. This is just a simple little ditty. This is nothing, big and impressive. Just a little bit of fun. Put some little squiggly wigs in there. A few little silly lines and things. And this is all Like drawing it, it's like, oh, it's quite cool, quite fun to do. But then when you're painting these lines with spray paint, it's really fun to like go thinner and fatter lines and clean bits up, cut back certain fat lines to turn them into thin lines. And something like this is good to do if you're painting illegally. Big bold colour for the background, another can, big bold like shapes in the middle, another one or two shapes in the middle just to add colour and design to it, then another colour just squiggle through the whole thing. Then you, I don't know, put some like this kind of shit in the 3D. And then you hit your outlines. There's a few really good colour combinations I like to use where I very purposely don't use black as an outline colour, and it can give some really, really nice sort of like effects to your piece. But this, like I say, this is a fairly simple, not outrageous piece, just, you know, fairly typical piece of graffiti just for the fun of it, just as an example, just because it's fun to do. It's been a long time since I really bothered drawing just like a piece of graffiti, and it's fun, you know, I enjoy it. And I do remember filling books upon books upon books with this stuff, and it was good times. I think also I do still to this day note the years of my life of like between the ages of sort of 16 to 19 being what I still consider the best years of my life, and a large portion of that is down to it being the time I was involved most heavily in graffiti, and it took over. Oh, I fucked that up completely. This should be out here. God damn it. It took over my life completely. It's all I would think about day and night. Everything I did, all my college work, all related to graffiti somehow. You know, I got in trouble with the police on my, at the time, girlfriend's birthday, and I was in a cell, and that was a whole thing. She wasn't happy about that, but you know, it's graffiti, man. That was the thing. That's what I cared about. That's all I wanted to do. Was paint graffiti. For a while, it was all about getting known and becoming like graffiti famous locally, at least. But then it turned into just like loving the act of doing it and not giving a shit about fame, but just wanting to get out and paint and tag and making your own markers, turning other shit into marker pens or markers of different kinds, and making inks and all kinds of shit yourself. Just really like enjoying the science of it all. It was such good fucking times. Take me back. I want to be 17 again. I think, I don't necessarily know for a fact, but I just, because it's easier to say, I usually say 17 years old was like the best time I ever had in my life ever, when I was 17. And yeah, if I could be 17 again, boy, I would take that in a second. If someone said, although, I mean, I don't know, if I had to then live the entire rest of my life after that again, I don't know if I would, but if I could, you know, experience being 17 again, just for a bit, that would be pretty fucking amazing. Fucked up a little bit here. I don't know if I can remedy that somehow. I don't know. It's a bit pink over there, maybe. I'll fuck it up even more. Why not? Why not? Hey, you. And then last little bit. I'm almost done. Don't worry. You're almost finished. You've got to add some highlights to your piece. Top lines with a white. And obviously you do this with spray paint if you're doing the piece, so it would be nice and bold. It would cover everything it needed to cover. You could do little bits here and there, little dots. You don't have to cover the whole line. And then these top lines here. And then you start having trouble trying to figure out which lines should have a highlight and which shouldn't. No. and put one there as well. And then a few little dots and things. And I guess then the last thing to do is close it off with some tags. Get the E1 tag in there, 23, crew name, crew, I don't really have a crew at the moment, and then other names, fucking Ned's, stick him in there, he's a good one. Tusk was another meaningful name for various reasons. Shit, piss, fart, dicks, ass.